Imagine this. You wake up 50,000 years ago. You open your eyes to a world that's nothing like the one you know. It's 50,000 years ago. You're naked, alone, and exposed on the vast African savanna. No shelter, no fire, no tools. Just your modern human brain and a deadly world that doesn't care whether you survive the day. Today we escape into nature documentaries, hiking trips, and wilderness adventures, dreaming of a simpler, wilder past. We like to imagine ourselves as capable, rugged hunter-gatherers, surviving off the land using instinct and grit. But the reality? Life in the Paleolithic wasn't just tough, it was relentlessly brutal. And if you suddenly found yourself in that era, the odds are that you'd be dead before nightfall. According to the Smithsonian Institution's Human Origins Program, our ancestors lived in a world filled with overwhelming challenges, constant threats from predators, disease, and injury. Recent findings from 2024 only deepen our understanding of how incredibly resourceful early humans had to be simply to survive. So the question isn't whether you're brave or tough enough. It's this: can your modern brain and body adapt quickly enough before you're claimed by this harsh, ancient world? Survival begins with not dying. Your first battle wouldn't be about food or fire. It would be about staying alive long enough to think about those things. Research on ancient predators reveals a terrifying reality. Creatures like the spotted hyena preyed on baboons, and in some regions, even humans. Worse still, the now extinct short-faced hyena, Pachecracuta, was as large as a lion, with a jaw powerful enough to crush a hominid's skull whole. Every sound, a rustling bush, the crack of a twig, could signal a predator stalking you. The anxiety you feel in tense moments today, that evolved from the real possibility that something was watching your ancestors, waiting to pounce. And while your brain may be modern, it lacks one critical advantage: experience. Anthropologist Clint Janolis from Oxford explains that most present-day hunter-gatherers grow up learning how to track, hunt, and read nature with exceptional precision. What you'd see as a blurry shape in the distance, they would instantly recognize as threat or prey. They'd already be planning their next move while you're still trying to decide if it's safe to blink. Your survival would depend on how fast you can learn, faster than you've ever had to. Shelter, a matter of life or death. Your next desperate mission, finding shelter. Archaeological evidence shows our ancestors used natural features like overhanging cliffs and caves to shield themselves from wind and rain. In colder regions, they got even more creative, building shelters from ice, snow, and even using massive mammoth bones as frames. But here's the cruel joke. Without inherited knowledge passed down through generations, you'd be trying to invent primitive architecture from scratch while battling hypothermia. Consider the 5,000-year-old remains of Ötzi the Iceman. He wore an outfit crafted from goat and sheep hides, stitched together by hand, with grass-woven shoes and fitted leggings. That level of ingenuity took centuries to develop. But you have nothing, no tools, no idea which materials are waterproof, warm, or even safe. Every cold night without proper shelter inches you closer to death. Fire, the prehistoric lifeline. Fire wasn't a luxury, it was survival itself. At sites like Kubi 4 in Kenya, we see how early humans used fire for warmth, cooking, and protection from predators. But forget the Hollywood image of striking a spark with two rocks. Making fire from scratch is no small feat. As anthropologist Brian Fagan of UC Santa Barbara notes, Ice Age humans developed surprisingly advanced tools and techniques for firemaking. Without matches or lighters, you'd have to master friction-based methods, needing the right wood, the perfect tinder, and a technique refined through countless failures. Modern primitive skills instructors often struggle to make fire even in ideal conditions. Now imagine doing that cold, hungry, scared, and surrounded by unseen predators. Fire wasn't just survival, it was a high art. And your ancestors were the masters. The myth of the lone hunter movies show cavemen hurling spears at mammoths. But true Paleolithic hunting was far more complex. As Janulis points out, The biggest thing we've lost isn't one specific skill. It's entire systems of subsistence built over generations, adapted to each environment. Fossils in eastern France reveal that Ice Age hunters would use fire to corral entire herds of wild horses and reindeer into valleys, making hunting safer and more efficient. The meat they gathered could be dried and preserved for the seasons ahead, a feat of planning and coordination. But hunting was only half the struggle. Gathering plants was just as vital and just as deadly. A 2016 study of early humans in Israel found they consumed up to 55 types of wild plants. The knowledge of which plants were edible and which were poisonous was passed down through careful teaching. Get it wrong, and you could die in agony. One beautiful seed, like those of the jaguarity plant, contains abrin, one of the deadliest toxins known to man. Invisible enemies, disease and infection. Worried about lions? That's just the beginning. New DNA evidence reveals that infectious diseases already plagued humans 32,000 years ago. Pathogens were present in ancient teeth, indicating blood infections and poor oral health. With no medicine, no antibiotics, and no understanding of germs, even a simple cut could become fatal. Parasites, too, were everywhere. In fact, some researchers believe ancient parasitic worms helped shape our immune systems. And today, without them, our modern immune responses may be poorly tuned to ancient threats. Even drinking water was a gamble. Without modern filtration or knowledge of microbial danger, every mouthful could bring death. Your only hope: find a tribe. So what gave early humans a fighting chance? Cooperation. Dig sites show that Paleolithic humans lived in small family groups, usually 25 people or fewer. Survival demanded teamwork. These early societies developed roles based on skills and shared knowledge. They didn't just survive through strength. They survived through connection. They passed down critical survival knowledge through storytelling, music, and even cave art. Those beautiful drawings at Lascaux and Chauvet, they weren't just decoration. They were instruction manuals. Wildlife biologists can identify the seasons in which they were painted based on the coats of the animals. That's how deep our ancestors' understanding of their world went. You have the brain, but do you have the skills? Structurally, your brain is no different from your Paleolithic ancestors. You have the same intelligence, maybe even better nutrition, but that's where your advantage ends. Modern life has robbed you of the physical conditioning, awareness, and survival instincts that our ancestors lived by. You've traded deep environmental knowledge for comfort and convenience. They navigated vast terrain without maps, recognized edible plants on sight, and could track an animal for days. You get lost when your phone dies. Janulis sums it up. Most urbanized people today wouldn't just lack survival knowledge. They'd waste precious time and energy making the wrong decisions. You've swapped ancient wisdom for technological dependence. Would you make it? Honestly, probably not. According to experts, most modern humans wouldn't last more than a few days in the Paleolithic wilderness. Your best shot? Stumbling upon an existing group of hunter-gatherers willing to take you in. Even then, you'd need to learn fast, stay alert, and pray for luck. Mistakes weren't just dangerous, they were final. But maybe that's what makes our ancestors so extraordinary. They didn't just endure the brutal conditions of early Earth. They thrived. They innovated. They adapted. They conquered environments that would kill us today. Their achievements laid the foundation for everything we enjoy now. A legacy worth honoring. So the next time you groan about your commute or struggle to open a jar, remember, you are descended from the most elite survivors in the history of the planet. They faced saber-toothed cats, endured ice ages, built civilization from stone and fire, and they did it without comfort, convenience, or certainty. Could you survive in their world? Probably not, but that's not a failure. It's a reflection of how far we've come. We've traded raw survival for shared knowledge and brutal hardship for remarkable innovation. And just maybe, by remembering their story, we'll gain a deeper appreciation of both where we came from and where we're headed. So, what now? You might not last a day in the Paleolithic world, but you don't have to. The real challenge today isn't building fire from scratch or escaping predators. It's remembering what made us human in the first place. Resilience, adaptability, curiosity, ingenuity, community. These are the qualities that carried us through the darkest nights and coldest winters, long before history was ever written. And they still live in you, waiting to be awakened, not by survival, but by purpose. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by modern life, look back, way back, because understanding where we came from helps us live more intentionally now. If this journey into the past sparks something in you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to Before the Flame for more deep dives into the raw, untold stories of early humanity. Leave a comment. Could you survive the Stone Age? What skill would you miss the most? And share this with someone who thinks they'd crush it as a caveman. We explore the roots of what made us human. Before cities, before tools, before the flame, let's keep the fire alive.